I am Italian, third generation. My grandparents are from Italy, and my parents from Little Italy, and then Bensonhurst, Little Italy, and and then when I was born, see, my grandfather, when he first wanted to move to Brooklyn, they said, we don't want a guy like you here. We don't want like a greaseball Italian. And he's like, you son of a bitch. I'll tell you something. One day, I'm going to own the whole block. And he did. He had like 12 kids, and they all bought a house on the block.
Oh,
and
wow.
so we pretty much owned the block. And so when that was like my grandparents' generation, and then here comes my parents' generation, and then all of them have kids, and they start either living on the block or moving away. And I was the first kid on the block of that generation. So I always started performing from, as a child, what I affectionately call the coffee table circuit. So it was basically like, I would learn the ABCs, and then they'd be like, I'd go to Aunt Nina's coffee table, and then Uncle Dominic's coffee table, and then Aunt Rose's coffee table, and across the street to Aunt Marchese, and then show the Schiraldis, and then go down, and I would be going down the block doing the ABCs. So I could like talk and have like full sentences like before I should have, and way before I should have, and before I could walk. When you see like some of those kids on YouTube and stuff that just are so articulate at such a young age, that was me. And so people used to think that I was destined for showbiz, and always putting that in my head, talking to me about that, putting that in my head, and like planting that seed. Can you act? And making me act out scenes and trying to get me to do stuff all the time. And people thought my mom was a ventriloquist because she'd be walking down the street with me in Brooklyn, with me in the carriage, and somebody would say, oh, what a cute baby. And I'd go, do you want to come up for a cup of coffee? Like, and my mom would be startled by things like phrases like that I would just say out of nowhere, and I was still in diapers and wasn't even walking yet. And like I was having full sentence. She said I would pull myself up on to the crib, and I'd be like, Mom, get in here, no! Like when I was so little, they used to crack up. So I always wanted to do it. And because people were like, do you ever want to try showbiz? Do you want to try it? I didn't really know what it was, but I wanted to try it because everyone always talked about it to me as a little kid. And then I discovered like Annie and Kids Incorporated, which was a television show kind of like Glee, but with like that started Jennifer Love Hewitt and Fergie, and a couple other people were on that show. And it was little kids who basically did like Glee perform. I mean, I thought that was...
I remember that theme song.
Yeah, and so this is like the 80s, right? And at this point, the reason Cats and Chorus Line and Phantom are all like hugely famous mega musicals, because we didn't really have that in the past, was because they were the first Broadway shows to have commercials on television. So this was all during that time. And so the rage was Broadway commercials, because people in like, you know, Nebraska could see Cats instead of just hearing about it.
Right.
You know, so, and they saw it over and over again. They ran those commercials a lot. So here's Annie, Kids Incorporated, commercials for Broadway, and then also stuff like the hotels on Broadway would have like musical number commercials, you know, like beautiful Mount Airy. It was like all the, and everything was like showbiz like to me. And so that's what I always wanted to do, but my mom wouldn't let me do it until way later.
What do you mean way later? So you're growing up, you're, say, how old? And you're like, I want to be on Broadway. You liking the glitz, like the LA sign behind you.
First grade. Okay, which is
so
like 6, turning 7.
Years old?
6, right? I'm like 6, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like I was faking tap dancing, like I would see it on like the Mickey Mouse Club, like reruns, and I'd like try to do it. And I just was like, I want to do showbiz. Like this is what I want. And then Nickelodeon had a TV show that Leonard Nimoy hosted called Lights, Camera, Action. And they went backstage on movies. And that's when I discovered like cinema and what that meant. And they had the Never Ending Story. I remember every episode. I remember every episode. And I haven't seen it since then, but they had the Never Ending Story, and they showed Atreyu, the nothing coming, and Atreyu hanging onto the tree and the wind blowing him. But how they did it was they put him in a room that turned this way, and he would hang from the tree. And then he was a kid like me, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, how do I do that? And I saw Goonies, and I was like, how do I do that? And all I wanted to do was do it. It like killed me inside. So when I was like playing games with my friends, instead of like playing guns or playing house, I was like somewhere in the middle. I was like trying to like always orchestrate a show or a variety show or something like that, you know, and trying to get people to do more of that. And then I remember, I'll like never forget it. I was watching Kids Incorporated, and after Kids Incorporated, because we were in New York, you know, so it was like a New York local station. They were like announcing auditions for Kids Incorporated. We're casting 2 new roles in Manhattan. And I was like, Mom! Like, I was like freaking out. I was like, you have to take me. And she was like, what am I gonna take you for? What are you gonna do? You can't sing, you can't dance. These are like professional actor kids. Like, and I was like, oh God, no. I was like, I lost my chance. You know, and then we moved to Florida. And while I was in Florida, one day, my sister was born right before we moved, and my sister was an adorable baby, like really cute looking. I'm not just saying it because she's Oz. She could have been a Gerber baby, you know, kind of thing. And so people were like, you should put her in this, and you should put her in that.
No,
so my mom. They convinced my mom to take my sister to go see an agent. Now, I didn't know about this yet at all. And usually my mom didn't go to work till like 11 or something. So like, I think like or 9 maybe. So like when I left for school, my mom was still like in her pajamas, cooking breakfast, whatever. But one day I came down and breakfast was McDonald's and she was all dressed. And my sister was all dressed nice. And I'm like, where are you two going? Like, I was like, what's going on here, you know? And me and my brother, she's going to drop me and my brother off at school. And I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, I'm not telling you, whatever. And she's like, fine, I'll just tell you. And don't make a big thing out of it, but I'm taking your sister to see an agent. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like, it was so incredulous to me that she would do something like that. Like, I freaked. So I went to school and I sat there and like stewed. Like, I can't even tell you. And then I was like, I pretended I was sick. And in my head, I was giving the best acting performance of my life. And I was going with appendicitis. And I was holding my side. And just, if I keep holding my side and saying I have a pain in my side, they're going to get me out of here. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if it should be soft to touch. I don't know what the deal is. I don't want them to call an ambulance. I had to like really, and for a, you know, a second grader, that's a tall act. But I pulled it off. And they called my mother and they said, excuse me, Miss Franzese. She was like, yes. Like, she knew exactly. You have to hear her tell the story. It's excellent. But she's like, uh-huh. And they're like, your son is very sick. She's like, mm-hmm. They're like, we think you really need to come pick him up now. She's like, I'll be right there. She was ready to strangle me. So she grabbed me and she got me and she put me in the car and she was just like, come on, you're coming with me. Like, all so mad. But then she had to laugh it off. What is she going to do? And we go to the agent, and me and my sister's running around. I'm trying to calm her down, but I'm also trying to be noticeable, like that I'm articulate or that I, like whatever. So I'd be like, come here, Diana, don't do that. Come sit over here with me and let's hang out. And like trying to be, I was always like, oh, showy show, you know? And my sister was running around and whatever. And then I remember I grabbed the water from the water jug and my mom was like, just so you know, they count those. Like, and I was like, oh, damn, that's a strike against me. You know, and I'm just waiting and waiting. And the lady came out, the agent, she goes, can you guys just be quiet in here for 1 second? And we all looked at each other. I was like, that's it. I blew my chance, you know? And then the lady came in and we had a meeting and both my mom and we talked. My sister wasn't right for it. She was too squirmy of a baby, but the lady took an interest in me. And she goes, just to show you I'm not a meanie, I have an audition for you. She goes, here you go, and gave my mom an audition for me to audition for this toy car commercial. I went to the toy car commercial audition. I went in there. I don't even like cars, okay? I'm gay. Like, it's not my thing. It was never really my thing. But it was actually a pretty cool car. It was called Turbo Boom from Majorette Toys. And it was a little car that I think the commercial went with something like, the car crashes, the hood and doors pop open, and then instant repair. Turboom by Majorette, the little car with the big blast. And you put a cap under the hood. Like, remember cap guns? Yeah. You put a cap under the hood. You push Turbo Boom towards something solid and watch it blast. Smoke would come out the hood when the car crashed. Cool car. So I was like, this is so awesome. I want one of these. Like, when does it come out? Is it out yet? I'm gonna make my dad get me one of these. And I saw all their faces and they were like, oh, you are? What do you like about it? And I'm like, well, it's so cool how the hood open. I mean, I just was like laying it on thick. And I walked out and my mom and dad said there was tons of kids there and they were nervous because they were like, damn, if Danny doesn't get this, he's gonna be devastated. Because some of these kids were like, there's the kid from the McDonald's commercial, there's the kid from this commercial. Oh my God, like I've seen that one before. And then I walked out and they were like, how did it go? And I was like, I had the meeting out of the palm of my hand. And then my mom got the call that I got the part. And then when I came up from school, she was like, hey, Danny, I want to tell you something. She was like, remember the audition? She's like, you didn't get the part. And she said she did that because she wanted to see how I handled it when I didn't get it before we started pursuing this. So, and I was like, that's okay, Mom. There's other opportunities. It was so fun to audition. Like, I literally was like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. I was like, it's fine. And they were like, just kidding, Charlie. You know, and I was like, ah. And so it was so stressful for my mom to do this commercial. Remembering it, not knowing what was going on and being a kid. My mom bought like 8 outfits, all wrong. I mean, the stuff she picked out was wrong. And like, at the end of the day, they just wanted me in like jean shorts and like a blue t-shirt, you know? And that's what the other kids had. And my mom brought like gray dress pants with like suspenders and the tie. And like, she made all these outfits that just were wrong and spent more money than I made doing the spot. And said, you know what? This isn't for us. You can study this as much as you want, but if you want to pursue this professionally, you have to do it when you're old enough to do it on your own after college.